All right, good morning, everybody. Give me 1 second here. All right, looking at our trade plan from yesterday, we had a pretty strong P-shaped profile on Friday, obviously trending up pretty much the entire day. 30-minute lows were protected damn near the entire time as well. And then opening up today, it did look like we were going to continue to push, but then it started coming back down into that value. So basically around where that POC was on Friday. So if you stay inside that value, just look for those rotations. If you can hold above that 62 level, then we can extend that upper tail. So rotation goes down to 86, which is our trade plan target, and then 55. That would be that prior value from Thursday. Now today is kind of shaping up to be a bit of a micro pullback. Pretty much the exact same story on NASDAQ here. Holding below 203, look for 807. And then below that, 586. If we hold above the high at 203, look for the breakout into 596 and then possibly around 800, which is a prior POC level. But same thing here, we have a P-shaped profile on Friday, but it is a micro pullback on today. So on the start, we're looking for those rotations until it can hold outside of value. We had a beautiful bear flag in the VWAP, but unfortunately it was pre-market, so if you guys weren't trading about an hour and a half ago, you would have missed it. But it literally tapped VWAP twice to the exact tick, and then we sold off. Damn near the same on NASDAQ, just barely missed it. So we're kind of in a trade right now, like the market is in a trade. It's in that bear flag in the VWAP, basically hitting the prior low, which is pretty much right here. So if you guys were able to take that trade pre-market, this is your final target, unless you obviously leave a runner. So now for the morning trade, it's kind of hard because you're finishing a trade right now. So we'll see the reaction on this prior low. We'll see what it does here. What's today, the 9th? So it's not this week, but next week there is a holiday on the Monday. The markets will be closed next Monday, so you have a long weekend this week. which shouldn't change a whole lot. Might have a little bit of weird price action on Friday. As far as the calendar for this week, let me take a look here. It is CPI week, so CPI on Friday. Some high impact data tomorrow and on Wednesday, but nothing really on the calendar for today. So here's that reaction on that prior low. So like I said, if you took the bear flag in the VWAP, the low was created by another bear flag in the VWAP, funny enough. You had a bear flag in the VWAP here around the London Open, sold off, created that low, bear flag, hit VWAP, there's the prior low again. So now you have that support coming in. So keep an eye on VWAP yet again for the third attempt, I believe. Yeah, it's like the third attempt. We've stayed below that VWAP pretty much the entire pre-market, so pretty bearish. Delta looks pretty good on ES, not too strong on NASDAQ though, pretty weak. Good morning, everyone. Tachi, Scott, Mick, Roger. Good morning, Future, JC, VQ, Fernando. Good morning, Ram, Jose, Morris, Banana, Ordinary. Good morning, Larry. Good morning, Timothy. Roman, Trevor, Titus, Igor, Gregor. Let me put the... There you go, pin the trade plan for you. Orion, Tamer, Vivian, Ollie. Good morning, Angelo. Good morning, eBay. Good morning, Mario, Roman. Darius, Tom. Good morning, Ken. Good morning, Boat, Linus, TK, Brian, Garage, Lucio. Good morning, Music. Appreciate you guys all being here. No, I'm marking all the point of origins manually. I just use a rectangle tool normally. Keep it nice and simple. Probably going to be seeing a lot of this right now. A lot of back and forth, not really picking a direction. Because we have that inside bar, that micro pullback structure. Keep it on VWAP here. We'll see if they have a reaction like they did the first couple of times. Want a music XP, Mario, Leo? Appreciate you guys being here. Breaking through VWeb, not seeing any reaction like we did the first couple of times. Very large block trade on NASDAQ into VWeb here. How many contracts was that? That was 900 contracts. That's pretty big for NASDAQ. NASDAQ normally does not see block trades that high. It's usually in the couple hundreds. Building a very strong node here, possibly shifting that POC up here. We're still inside of Friday, so as long as you're inside of Friday, still getting a bit of chop. It would have to impulse pretty heavily to the upside to break above Friday's high and then also the overnight high. EOC shifted. Kind of ignoring VWAP this time around, which is honestly reasonable because you failed VWAP pretty much perfectly this time here and then this time here. Right as I said that, there is a big block trade above VWAP here. Keep an eye on that. 653 contracts, not too crazy. Still holding on to VWAP bullishly. Liquidity is better barely than last week. It's still not good. But it's not as bad as it was last week. Last week we were seeing like 10 contracts per tick. Now we're getting around like 20-ish. So it's still pretty bad. But you can see very clearly it's not just like blowing through levels like it was last week. A little bit slower, a little bit stickier. That block trade is being protected. The bearish block trade came in around 54. They were not able to hold above it. They lost the node at 50, and now they're starting to fall pretty quickly. This is the problem with low liquidity. It can blow through these levels very quickly. So now we're back below VWAP. So now it is reacting to VWAP, but you have that secondary reaction. So we talked about this in the VWAP video, but here's a good example of the different reactions. You have the normal reaction where it like hits VWAP and kind of fails immediately. And then you have the cupping pattern where it's more of a trap, where it doesn't react the first time, kind of breaks through it, and then it starts to cup, it starts to roll over, right? Has that little bit of a rollover in momentum. And then you lose VWAP. So you're trapping all the breakout buyers that were trying to buy above VWAP. This is also around the value high, so buying up there is not a great buy anyway. If you're trading the rotations. You can see it hit the value high to the exact tick. And now the value low is around 30 to 29 for that rotation. Didn't hit it to the exact tick, but you are failing the value high there. Rotation on NASDAQ would be around 25,000, a little bit above it. Morning, T. Morning, Julio. I got you added to the Discord, right, Julio? Did I get you added last week? I think I got all the raffle winners added to the Discord. I did, okay, awesome. Kind of like a bulldog here, but it's right on VWAP, so it's kind of hard to say if it's a good variation or a bad one. Have that double bottom popped up, put in a little pullback there. But typically the pullback, you want it to be above VWAP, using it as support. You're kind of stuck on VWAP here, so not the best. Still slightly bullish because you can see we're putting in a higher low and trying to protect VWAP here. But until they start building value back above that POC node, you still have that potential for a lower high, so it still could be a bit choppy here. Okay, here is that prior POC. Are we able to stay above this 55 node here? Good morning, Leo. Good morning, Chuck. Not seeing a whole lot up here. They are building a small node above that 30-minute high, not really pushing off of it just yet. Keep an eye on those 1-minute lows and 5-minute lows, a little bit aggressive. You're still right on that high, that overnight high and Friday high, so a lot of sell pressure up here. You have that perfect micro pullback bell curve. You can see the slight bullish bias because look at where the range is, right? Value low is here, value high is there, POC is here. So you're protecting the POC and you're kind of building up around that value high. So slightly bullish on the overall value, right? You're still kind of setting up to increase value. This becomes very threatening for the buyers once they lose the value high, because then you can say all this up here is starting to get trapped and then they start getting scared out. But as you're building up here, not that bad. Yeah, looks like that sell pressure from the value high still holding you down here. Seeing a lot of that sell pressure from that value high, trying to create a little bit of a sweep here. Good morning, Dev. Okay, now you're starting to get a little bit impulsive off of the high, so finding buyers above the value high here. Keep an eye on single prints possibly back down to 60 if it does continue here. Yeah, slow is good here, to be honest, because last week was pretty bad liquidity-wise, and you were moving very, very quickly. So it's good to see that we are actually a bit more sticky now. It's taken its time, giving you time to think, really. Bit more boring, obviously, but you do have more time to make your decisions. You have 10 minutes. If you're continuing up, you will have single prints going down to 60. You're still not really seeing a breakout just yet. You're just now getting above that value high, but you're still right around the value high of Friday. You're still right around that overnight high of today, so you don't really have that impulse just yet. If it does stay above this 62, could be impulsing to that next level, which is around 17. And I believe that's the highest value level we have. Yeah, that is the highest value that we have that's untested. So far today, this bell curve is pretty much perfect. The micro pullback is perfect. So being a breakout here is definitely going to be difficult. We'll see if they can build a node above 63. The downside is if they do build a node up here, you will have single prints. So it'll have a reason to go right back down. Five-minute lows still being protected. At this rate, we will have those single prints going back down, which lines up pretty much with the value high breakout. Good morning, Mauser. I don't care too much about that stuff, Sven. I don't really look at like the macro stuff that much, like what the hedge funds are doing and what are the like big macro plays going on with metals, crypto, all that stuff. I barely hold anything overnight, basically never hold anything overnight unless it's in a specific portfolio or unless it's in the like my long-term stuff, like my retirement stuff or whatnot. Um, but as far as like trading goes, like not investing, I don't hold anything overnight, so I don't care too much about the macro stuff. I know it can affect the day-to-day like little scalping and day trades, but at that level, you're better off just monitoring the setups, the delta, the patterns, the volume profile, like all the little indicators and whatnot, than you are the macro stuff. The macro stuff's not going to help you on a 5-point trade. They are repairing these single prints perfectly, but they're doing it a little bit early. So they're repairing this candle. It closes in 3 minutes. They have to be below 60. If they're below 60, they will be there will be no single prints. If I had to guess, my levels on gold have not changed because it's not moving that much recently. Yeah, my levels have not changed. You bounced off that breakout point from quite a while ago, which was a really good buy. You had the original high, you had the breakout point, then you had the retrace. So that was a beautiful buy there. First set of targets being hit for the second time, and then second set of targets was the top, damn near to the dollar, on the first time around. So if it wants to hit that second set of targets again, that would be that same area. But when it does stuff like that, you always want to watch out for a lower high. So a lower high in this case would be somewhere in that kind of general area. It's hard to see where that candle's low is because of that. Yeah, it's right there. Okay. So that's like the lower high zone. You could probably make it a little bit smaller. It's probably like there. Yeah, there's no easy way to connect these candles, unfortunately. That's about as good as you're going to get it. Where is the high VWAP? You are retaking the high VWAP. High VWAP is right around 5,000 even. But yeah, going back to your question about the macro stuff, by the way, beautiful repair here on that candle, so no single prints most likely, unless it bounces very strong here. The macro stuff, over the years, I just stopped watching it even more and more and more, like as the years go on. Because I'm just coming to realize that it's almost just confirmation bias. Like, there's always a narrative for something. Like, if I want to be bearish, I'll go find the narrative. If I want to be bullish, I'll go find the narrative. And I just noticed that this goes back to what I always talk about on stream. How much time are you putting into something? How much value are you getting out of it? How much time are you putting into like looking at all this macro stuff? How much value is it giving you in your day trading, in your scalping? Probably nothing. Probably like no value whatsoever. The only value, one single print, by the way. So they have to go below 60 to fill that in. The only value I could see it giving you is like when you're doing your trade plan in the morning, you have a better idea of like the bias. You have a better idea of like, we probably should be going up this week or next couple of days because of all this macro stuff going on. But that can also be a negative because you could have all these sell signals coming in. Take today, for example, like during the pre-market, we had all these bear flags in the VWAP. If you had this preconceived like bias from all this macro bullshit that was going on, and you thought that you were supposed to be very bullish, but then you see all these bearish signals coming in on the pre-market, you just ignore them because you have this bias, right? So it can be a negative. You want your bias, which as you guys see on my daily trade plan every single day, you want your bias to be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like fluid, versatile, something like that. You get what I mean. Like you want to be able to change it pretty much every few candles on the 30-minute. When the structure is changing, you change your bias. Yeah, adaptable, exactly. Yeah. You want to be able to adapt to what you're seeing kind of on the fly. You don't want to have like, oh, I started the day with a bullish bias. I don't care what the day shows me. I'm bullish all day. You don't want that, right? And I feel like the more macro you look at, the more that happens to you, where you just build this bias in your head and you just can't get rid of it. And you see that more on the sell side than you do on the buy side, which is why you guys hear me rant all the time when we start selling off on equities and people come into chat with their doom and gloom bullshit and recession and yada, 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 yada. Because they're doing exactly what I just said. They're seeing all this negative stuff online about the market for whatever reason, AI bubble, whatever. And they're creating their daily bias based on this notion that the macro should be going down. And that makes them miss so many trades on the scalping or day trading timeframes because their brain is just like stuck on this idea that it should be going one way. The market doesn't give a shit about what you think it should be doing. A great example of that just summed up into one setup is what I always say with the vertical distribution trades, which we're kind of actually seeing right now. You have a little bit of a vertical distribution starting right now. It's kind of more of a strong uptrend, so not a great example. But going back to what I was saying, a great example is with a vertical distribution, almost everything is telling you that it should be going down, quote unquote, should be, right? It should be going down. The delta's bad, macro's bad, data's bad, whatever. But it just keeps going up. It does not care. You're seeing all this sell pressure coming in. It does not care. It keeps going up. That is a great example of that idea. If you're married to that bearish bias and you're not adapting, that is a widow-making pattern. It constantly kills people in their trades. So we had we almost had a near perfect single print fill in there. They repaired that entire tail except for one single print, which we have been seeing that a lot recently. And that's mostly because of my settings. My settings are 2-point TPOs, so they're a little bit wider. So it takes a little bit more to fill them in sometimes. But yeah, for the most part, when you build your bias like I do on my trade plan every morning, that's like right out of the gate. That is what we're thinking. And then we get all that new information coming out, and then we just adapt to the new information. Now, today's bias didn't really change. Today's bias was a P-shape / neutral because of the micro pullback. So we were mostly neutral, but we had a slight bullish bias, and that's exactly what happened. You could see that we were kind of neutral because it was chopping out a little bit, but we were slightly biased to the buy side, and you can see that. Now we're starting to push up. Sometimes I'll say the bias is like bullish leaning or whatever, and then it goes the exact opposite way right out of the open. So like I said, you just have to take that new information and be more fluid with your trading. Nothing kills accounts more than just constantly like counter trading what the market is very clearly telling you. Like if somebody was just like selling, and the market just keeps going up today, their account is just getting completely blown. Bob, I think what you're asking is like how I'm using these profiles to determine bias. And I would say watch my volume profile video on my Apex series, the 4th video in that series. But basically, I'm using a full session, so this is the profile of the entire day, including every pre-market. So the entire pre-market and the entire actual day. So then from that profile, you can kind of see where all the volume is building up or the lack of volume, right? So you're looking at the entire day and just whatever shape that is giving you. And not just the shape, obviously you want to look at the price action. Like where did we close in that shape? Because if we had a P shape like this, but we closed way down here, every P shape doesn't mean that it's bullish. This could have been very bearish, right? You need to see where it's opening and closing. We opened down here, we closed up here, we have a P-shaped profile, therefore it's very bullish. But then today is not very bullish because today is just a continuation day. You're just building up that profile, that POC. So yes, you are kind of bullish, but you're also kind of choppy because you're just building that profile up. So that's kind of how I look at every day. Like, for example, on Thursday and Friday, this is a lowercase b, which is historically very bearish. Or not very bearish, kind of bearish. It wants to continue downward. But then once it starts to hang out inside that area right here, it gets a little bit more neutral. And then if it starts to break that value high, it gets more bullish. Because you're gaining value. That's just how you look at every single day. Where's the value going from the prior day, the prior week, the prior month, whatever. Today is a short squeeze, kind of. Not exactly. If you follow Dalton's understandings of the like volume profile, market profile, and most other volume profile books, they typically say P-shaped profiles are shorts closing, shorts covering. So in a way, they're kind of being squeezed out, but it's more of like a slow form of a squeeze. It's not a very violent squeeze. If it was a very violent squeeze, it would not be P-shaped. It would be a thin profile, where it's just absolutely running to the upside. So yes, the P-shaped profile is shorts closing, which therefore could be a squeeze, but it's not the most violent form. Yeah, slow death, exactly. It's slowly getting the traders to squeeze out of their positions, not a very fast, violent squeeze. Yeah, exactly. A lowercase b, but you're closing above value. It's bullish because you're gaining value and you're threatening those sellers. Same thing with a P shape. A P shape closing inside the lower tail is bearish because you're threatening those higher traders, the traders that are trading the breakout on the high that are obviously getting trapped. So just because it's a shape doesn't mean it's always bullish or bearish. You have to take into account what's going on there. But more often than not, the P shapes will be bullish, the lowercase b's will be bearish. It just depends on where the price action actually is. A lot of sellers up here on the upper node, kind of being absorbed. Yeah, that's just a matter of understanding the setups and trusting the setups. You just have to have patterns that you rely on, that you have high strike rates with, and that you just trust. The lack of trust is basically tied to experience or screen time, right? The more screen time you have with these setups, you've seen them play out so many times before, you trust them more because you have that experience. When you have low experience or low screen time with certain setups, you don't trust them. Hey, Angelo, have a good day, man. That's the biggest thing with like trading, and the reason why I don't sell like a $5,000 course, and I think that stuff is ridiculous, is you can't teach screen time, right? I can't teach experience. And a large part of trading is screen time, intuition, experience, right? The hardest part about trading is like knowing the like exact time to press that button, buy or sell, right? You can have all these setups that make it easier, and they tell you kind of where your window is, where your opportunity is. But knowing exactly when to press that button, that's something that really cannot be taught. That just has to be learned through taking the same trade 100 times, 1,000 times, watching the market for hours every day. You know what I mean? It's like I always make the analogy, the comparison, whatever you want to call it, to like a chef or a carpenter or like somebody who's just doing something that requires very fine detail and they are a master at their craft. They can teach someone how to cook some eggs or something, right, or how to cook something. But you're not going to cook at the same level as that guy, right? So talking about P shapes, this is a P shape on this 30-minute footprint. Very weak lower tail. When this type of candle happens, you really have to pay attention to who is controlling this upper node. Because if they start selling that upper node and pushing it down, basically where the value low would be, you think about it the same way you would think about a P-shaped daily profile, where if you start selling below that value low, you nuke that low of the candle pretty quickly. So they need to protect that node. The buyers do. Personally, Bob, I don't really care about any of that stuff. It's all just value. It's all just value and shapes and nodes. All right, so same thing we just said about the last single prints. You have a couple single prints going down to 72. If it does hold up here, they might try to repair it like they did the last time. That's a pretty far bounce already. It's already bounced like 20 points off of that last little zone there. We don't have any targets that are like really close because where we're retracing dropped very, very quickly. That was that day on Tuesday. So your target is basically the high on Monday or the weekly high, which is pretty far away. You have the overnight high here, obviously, so that's a little target there. At this point, if you re-lose that value high, it should go for that retrace. We'll keep an eye on that. 5-minute lows still being protected. Very strong upper node at 76. Same thing they did on the last candle. Yeah, I have no issues with that, as I've been using them for, I think, like 2 years now. I don't remember exactly when I started. I've got really no complaints. It's pretty solid. It has little bugs like here and there, but that's literally every single platform, so I don't really hold that against them. Yeah, have a good day, Chevy. Yeah, I don't really think there's a lot of people that are getting into Sierra charts like recently and they like it. It's mostly just people that have used them for a long time that just continue to use them. I don't think they have a very strong like onboarding process of new members. But that's just going off of what I see in chat. I actually have no idea what their numbers look like. It's all just personal preference. It's just stuff that I like to look at, stuff that helps me in my trades. I didn't base it off anything in particular. So right now we do kind of have that vertical distribution starting where you have a lot of delta coming into the downside, but it's kind of being absorbed and you are still going up. They are protecting the pullbacks to the 24 EMA, so the limit sellers are still holding it up even though the aggressive, the limit buyers are still holding it up, even though the aggressive buyers are a little bit weak. 5-minute lows still being protected, 30-minute lows still being protected. No sign of consistent sell pressure so far. The only reason we came down earlier was to repair that single print zone. Turned out it was a bulldog, which obviously was a very hard one at the time because you had the double bottom, you failed VWAP, you had the pullback into VWAP, which created that bulldog entry. But because it was right on VWAP, it was a little bit choppy, so it was kind of hard to see until about 10:04. 10:04, you started breaking away from that cluster. So that was a pretty good candle. But other than that, at the time, it was pretty hard. Yeah, Addis basically has everything. Like if it's related to order flow or kind of day trading stuff that you're used to seeing, it probably has it. More nitro. This single print zone is going to be pretty large, going back down to 73. You had good reactions to almost all these point of origin levels, but they are being taken out. So that one had a little pullback, broke it, flipped it, pullback, broke it. And now we have a breakout here. We'll see if it flips it. Google selling 100-year bonds. That's funny. OpenAI is saying they're planning to launch an updated chat model this week. I have been looking into, by the way, single prints here. Single prints going down to 73. I've been building a big update for the Athena bot that we have in Discord. Um, and I was wanted to put it out last week, but I've been looking around and I've been looking at like Gemini, Chat, or no, sorry, Grok, a couple of other ones. Trying to see if I can build a similar one on another platform because I honestly haven't been too pleased with Chat GPT once it switched over to 5. It doesn't seem like it's keeping up with the other programs like Gemini or Grok, for example. It seems like they're kind of losing the AI race. I'm gonna hold off on that update for now until I can see if I can build a custom model on these other platforms. I don't think, I was trying to figure it out, but I don't think Grok has a custom model, but I believe Gemini might. We'll see how this new version does that they're trying to put out this week. This 5 has been pretty slow to keep up with the competition. Yeah, future. Chat was doing really good. They like exploded like their numbers and everything. Their scores, whatever you want to call them. During their 4, like their 4.0 compared to their competitors, they were very, very strong. And I liked their 4.0. But then when it slowed down and got to like the 5.0, they stopped letting you use the older versions. It just doesn't seem like it's as good. And I've seen a bunch of reports on like how they score the different AI programs and whatnot. And they were saying like the 5.0 versions are just really not good compared to the competitors right now. Yeah, Ranger, if you want to do code, Claude is the best. Claude is the coding one. Which I forget who owns that. It's like Anthropic or something like that. Notebook, yeah, I've seen that one. They are very quickly building up these nodes. They're getting a ton of value on these levels. 85 node built up instantly. Yeah, my only complaint with Gemini when I was using it is it gets caught up on the weirdest things. Like you'll ask it something like completely normal, and it will say like, "Oh, I can't do that." And it's like, "Why can't you do that?" It's like the most normal question. Keep an eye on these 5-minute lows. They are being aggressively protected. Yeah, I think it's just like Google's like censorship they have on Gemini. So like if it even thinks that something is slightly off, it just won't do it. But I'm talking about like just like what's the weather for next week? Like a random ass question that's completely normal. It will be like, I can't do that. That's against my rules. There's like a bug with Gemini that's like for some reason flagging like normal statements as like malicious or something. I don't know. Grok is my favorite for most things. It seems like it's like the most up to date. It pulls the most like relevant information. 30-minute sweep on the high here, losing the upper node. Keep an eye on those single prints going down to 73. Got to watch those 5-minute lows in the 24 EMA. But yeah, Grok, for the most part, it pulls the most relevant sources, most up-to-date sources. It usually provides the most evidence when I ask it things. Like, it won't just, like, tell me this is what it thinks. It will tell me, here's a bunch of articles or whatever. This is why I'm saying this. I think Grok would be the best for my little custom chat program that I'm making. But unfortunately, they don't have it. They don't have the custom ones yet. Hopefully, they make that in the future. They have like custom settings, like you can tell it to do certain things, but you can't like build a custom chat bot like you can on OpenAI. Yeah, I can't stand those voice alerts. I turn those off like immediately. Delta's still coming down pretty quickly. There's a lot of sellers up here. Still protecting the 5-minute lows and the 24 EMA. And technically still the upper node as well. The trend is stable for now. Definitely getting a little bit scary with all that bearish delta coming in, minus 2,400. But they are so far just completely ignoring it. A lot of bearish delta being absorbed. This upper node here, POC, speaking of so much delta, there's a POC now. But like I said earlier, there's not really a major level up here. We're kind of in the middle of a value gap. Did we have single prints from before up here? Let me see. No, those got filled in. And that was the A session. Okay. So next level would be the POC around 7,000. Nice whole number. And then possibly around 17. Not exactly the same story on NASDAQ because we're trying to retrace, what is that, the third? That would go back to 596, and the POC is around 411. Pretty mixed day so far. Looks like the smaller sectors are a little bit red. Looks like the lower risk sectors are getting a bit of a rotation out. Like this sector here, this one, this one, this one. Kind of finance. They're all a bit lower risk. And then these two are obviously like the tech companies. They're higher risk. They are getting a bit more buy pressure right now. Still just rotating the POC node here. Hasn't decided if it wants to fill in those single prints back down to 70. The sellers are completely absorbed here, possibly creating a couple more single prints on this break. These upper single prints not really doing anything. We do have the lower single prints back down to 70. You had like one or two on the high that just repaired instantly. It's funny, earlier today I was talking about a vertical distribution pattern and not being like tied to your bias. And that's kind of what you're seeing right now. You have this vertical distribution. So if you were trying to short this the entire way up, obviously it was quite painful. Now you're starting to see a couple of magnets, a couple of reasons to actually go down here. So if you do start seeing that sell pressure breaking the 5-minute lows, breaking the 24 EMA, lower highs, that sort of thing, then obviously look for those to be filled in. Single print's down to 72. You've got one remaining down to about 60, 58, somewhere around there. So you do have reasons to go down here, but it's not showing you any like cracks of it's actually going down, right? You don't see those 5-minute lows getting taken out. You don't really see the lower highs just yet. So just keep an eye on that. But all right, guys, we will start closing up the stream here. We're at 85 likes. If you guys can get that to 100, we'll do an Apex account giveaway. If you guys are heading out before the giveaway, enjoy the rest of your day. I will be streaming in Discord until the close. If you guys are not in Discord, I'll be back tomorrow, same time as always. Apex is doing an 80% off sale right now. They've got cheaper resets, cheaper paid activation account, I believe, as well. Or paid account activation, you know what I mean. As always, if you guys are using the code BREW, just hold on to those receipts. We will be doing a raffle pretty much every single month this year. We did a raffle for January. We're going to do one for February, obviously. So just hold on to those receipts. I'll get those from you in a couple of weeks, probably the last week of the month. No, I don't do Discord trials. I used to back in the old days, but not anymore, no. I basically consider the raffles and all the different times that I give away Discord as prizes. That's kind of your trial. That's why I try to do so many different raffles and whatnot. But all right, guys, we did get over 100. I appreciate that. Let me go ahead and get that giveaway ready. All right, guys, if you haven't done a raffle before, just pick one number between 1 and 50. Just only pick one number. Don't worry about if somebody else has your number. We will do a tiebreaker. This is going to be for an Apex account promo code. I'm going to give you a promo code. It will give you an account for free for 30 days. And then it will start charging you after that. So it's basically a 30-day trial. If you can pass the account in that 30 days, it's basically a real account. So you can go ahead and activate it like you would any other account. Hey, Steve, welcome to the stream, man. Make sure that your stream is live. Press that live button. Make sure you do not have a very large delay. I do not want to sit here for 5 minutes waiting for you to respond if you won the raffle. So make sure you press that live button. And also have your email ready. I'm going to have to confirm your email so I can send you the code. If you win the raffle, you're going to have to send me an email. I'll give you a random number. You type the random number in chat. I send you the code. Just pick one number, guys. Make sure your delay is as low as possible. 1 through 50. Don't worry about ties. We'll do a tiebreaker. I'll give you guys another 30 seconds. If you do win, let me know, and then I'll go double check your chat history so I don't miss you. All right, 10 more seconds. All right, good luck, guys. The last name that I see for the first roll is Ram. I do see a 6. Are there multiple 6s? Let me know if you won. I see you, Ish. Is there anybody else? I don't see anybody else. I think it's just you. Let me know if you're here, Ish, and let me know if you put 6, anybody else. I don't see anybody else, though. Awesome, I see you, Ish. All right, last chance. If you put 6 and I did not see you, let me know. Okay, this person's getting banned for 24 hours. All right, Ish, I think you are the only winner. Let me go ahead and grab my email for you. 1 second. All right, there you go, Ish. Go ahead and send me an email. And let me know what your YouTube name is. And then I'll send you a random number to type in chat. 30-minute lows still being protected. 5-minute lows still being protected. That was nice and quick today. Yeah, hopefully it's like that every day. Let me know when you sent it and I'll take a look. We really haven't had a strong 5-minute low break the entire day. We had like this little pullback here, and then it instantly bounced. That was the VWAP pullback. So 5-minute lows being aggressively protected today. I got your email. I'm going to send you a random number here. Just type that in chat. And then the next email you'll see from me will be the actual promo code. Awesome, I see you. Okay. So I'll send you a promo code, and then you just go sign up for any size Apex account, put that promo code in, and you should be good for 30 days. Just make sure to remember when it's going to renew, because it will start charging you. But all right, guys, that's all I got. Keep an eye on these 5-minute lows today. Keep an eye on those 30-minute lows. Very strong trend to the upside. If it does continue, or sorry, if it does start to break those lows, then look for the single prints. Very easy target to the downside are the single prints, because as we've seen day in, day out, pretty much every time there are single prints, they fill them in before the close. It is a very high percentage chance that those will be filled in before the close of day. The problem with single prints is we know they're going to get closed, we just don't know when. It's really hard to determine when they're going to finally push down and fill them in. Just keep an eye on that. If you're in Discord, I'll see you guys there. If you guys are not in Discord, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace, everybody.